New York Jets earlier this week, Garrett Wilson signs a 4-year, $130 million extension. Sauce Gardner signs a 4-year, $120.4 million extension. Those guys now are both locked up through 2030. So through the prime of their careers. And I think the big picture way to look at this, because this is something that they've been working on for a while. I was pretty confident they'd get both of these guys done before the start of the season, way back in the spring, is how Aaron Glenn and Darren Mujier are going about building their team. And I think it's informative to look back at Aaron Glenn's experience in Detroit under Dan Campbell. Now, that, of course, was a complete rebuild. And they had to rebuild a lot of different things about the team, about the culture, about the roster. But they did go in with an open mind towards keeping guys who had already been in place under Matt Patricia as pillars of what they were going to build going forward. And I'll never forget when they made the playoffs for the first time in forever in 2023. I remember Dan Campbell calling up the guys he referred to as the OGs, the guys that he inherited, the guys that he thought were so important. And so guys like Taylor Decker and Frank Ragnow were so important to building what they built in Detroit. And I think that that's what Aaron Glenn was looking for in the spring in New York. We have a lot of young talent. There's way more young talent with the Jets right now than the Dan Campbell group found in Detroit when they got there in 2021. So which of these guys can be pieces for us going forward? And so you were looking at Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner on the defensive side of the ball. On top of Sauce, you have Quinton Williams, you have Quincy Williams, you have Jermaine Johnson. On the offensive side, in addition to Garrett Wilson, you inherited Ollie Vera Tucker, Olu Fashanu, Brees Hall. There are all of these guys that were left behind by Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh that were really good players, that had a chance to be core players. And so what you do if you're Darren Mujier and Aaron Glenn is you say, okay, prove it now. Let's see what you can be. Let's see how you operate in our program. And, because of the way the offseason program is set up in the NFL, these new coaches, these new general managers have 9 weeks to do it before training camp starts. So for Garrett Wilson, who things got a little rocky between him and Aaron Rodgers at times over the last couple of years, and for Sauce Gardner, who had not a great third year in the NFL last year, there was a chance to work from a clean slate and prove yourself again. Clearly, those guys had really strong springs. Clearly, the Jets are doubling down on them. And clearly, the new Jets regime came in with an open mind towards taking pieces of the old Jets regime and making it part of the foundation going forward. So these are the first two. I don't anticipate they'll be the last two guys that Glenn and Mujier inherited that they'll reward. But clearly those guys were very good players. Those would be hits, in a year when they had 3 first-round picks, the Jets did, when it was Gardner and Wilson, and of course Jermaine Johnson, who's going to have to prove himself coming back off of injury. You had real talent on the roster. The question was, could the talent fit what they were trying to build? And clearly Glenn and Mujier think so.